If you have a 2010 to 2014 Ford Raptor like this one behind me, and you've noticed on the front bumper there's a hole, well, Ford did that from the factory, and it's like they wanted you to put an off-road pod light in it. That's what this video is all about. We're gonna install the brand new Morimoto 4Bangers on a bracket that holds 3 4Bangers on each side. Follow us, let's get started. The Morimoto 4Banger was one of the best off-road pod lights we've ever tested at Headlight Revolution. That's why we're installing this pod light today. The pod lights come in 3 different beam patterns: a wide, a spot, and a combo driving beam pattern. They also have 2 different colors. You can either get them in a white or a yellow. There's also 2 different variations of the 4Bangers. There's the HXB, which use OSRAM chips, and it's extremely bright, the brightest option when it comes to the 4Bangers. And then there's the NCS, the entry-level pod light that use Nichia chips. If you want to see how these off-road pod lights compare to a whole variety of different pod lights, watch this video where Chris goes in depth putting them head to head. So we're going to start on the driver's side by mounting this bracket right here. This bracket is what the 4Bangers mount to. Now there is an L and an R. The L is on the driver's side and the R is for the passenger side. I just want to show you really quick because it's not very easy to get a camera up in here to show you where the bolts are. There's 2 10mm bolts. They're up here on the top and they're facing in like this. They're gonna go right through here. First thing we gotta do is remove those 2 bolts. Now when you're under that vehicle, you're gonna notice a brace. That brace is closest to the center of the vehicle. What we're going to do is remove that bolt and replace it with a 13mm bolt. It's a little bit longer than your original bolt and it's included in the kit from Morimoto. We do have to put a spacer in there. The bolt from Morimoto looks like this. It's a lot longer and it's a 13mm. The bolt is gonna go through your original bracket, through the Morimoto spacer, and then through the Morimoto bracket. Then tighten it down. Once you're done with this, go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. Now we get to the fun part. We get to mount the relay. The relay is actually really easy to mount. It looks like this, and just mount it vertically. Don't mount it down like this, just mount it vertically. On this harness, it also has a positive and negative battery terminal, and then 2 sets of 3 Deutsch connectors. Those are what's gonna be ran to the passenger and driver's side. And lastly, we have a switch wire. The switch wire is gonna be ran to our upfitter switches. No passing any switch through the firewall, so this is really easy. Since I'm obviously not going to screw into the battery, I'm just going to go ahead and use a zip tie. There's a little hole here already. So what I'm gonna do is just put the zip tie through the hole next to the battery and in this little eyelet on the relay itself. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut off the excess. So you just mounted the relay. Now what we're gonna do is mount the switch wire to the upfitter switches. This is also very easy to do. And the cool part is Morimoto included a butt connector. And these 2 ends are heat shrinkable, which means if you use a lighter on both sides, it'll make a watertight seal, which is exactly what you want when you have wiring in a vehicle that will probably go in the mud. So let's go ahead and connect this. Now the upfitter switches on these Ford Raptors are generally different from year to year. So I would refer to your owner's manual. What I'm gonna do is connect this switch wire to a purple or violet color, and that's gonna be aux3 in this case. So using a wire cutters, go ahead and strip back this wiring. You don't need a lot. Just like that. Now reach into the engine bay. You'll notice this violet purple color. This is the one I'm connecting to. Definitely refer to your owner's manual. I'm going to cut this heat shrink off because it's actually really hard to deal with. I'm just gonna cut it off, strip back the wiring, and then connect the butt connector. Put in one side, and then put in the other side. The best part about that butt connector is actually both sides is heat shrink. So go ahead and take a heater like this, a heat gun, and tighten it down. So now your switch wire is connected to the upfitter switches, which is, in my opinion, the most difficult part of this entire install. From here, it's gonna be a breeze. So what we're gonna do is take this wire right here, the one with 3 Deutsch connectors connected, and we're gonna route it down past the headlight area to the fog light area on the passenger side first. The shorter end goes to the passenger side. What would make this job much easier is if we just remove the headlight. And since it's only 3 10mm bolts, I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Now you might have noticed that this is no ordinary headlight. Well, this is the Morimoto XB LED headlight. This headlight right here is an extreme upgrade to the front end of your vehicle. If you're already putting 6 4Banger pod lights in there, you might as well get the Morimoto XB LED headlight. Type in your year, make, and model at headlightrevolution.com and you'll see all of the other products that we also have for your truck. So let's take this headlight out. Removing this XB headlight is the exact same as removing the OEM headlights. So don't worry, it's not any different. There's a bolt right here, and then if you pull this rubber cover back with this little tab here, you'll notice there's one more right there. Using a 10mm socket, let's go ahead and remove those. From here, the headlight just pulls right out. Now you are able to just pull your headlight out a little bit to get all this other wiring down into the headlight area. I'm gonna unplug it for the sake of the video real quick. So grab your shorter wire and we're gonna route it by the battery down to the passenger headlight area. And there we are. I'm just gonna set that down there. We can tidy up all this wiring later. That's not gonna be an issue. Once we're all done to make sure it works, then we'll zip tie all this excess wiring up. Grab the other wire that's much, much longer and still has 3 Deutsch connectors and route it through the same area, right alongside the battery and out through the passenger headlight. Now, thankfully, we only had to remove the passenger headlight. All this wiring is just gonna get tucked down here in the front of the bumper. All right, both of those are ran. Now, like I said, we're gonna zip tie all of this wiring up later once we make sure that all of the 4Bangers work. Now, I have not connected the positive and negative battery terminals yet. I like to save that for the very end. You're dealing with electricity and you don't wanna shock or short anything out. So let's go ahead and mount the 4Bangers. So as long as you did the same thing on the passenger side, both of your brackets are in. Now what we're going to do is mount a U-bracket on the 4Bangers of your choice. Now I haven't quite installed the right one yet because I wanted to show you guys something I thought was pretty cool. If you look on the bottom, there's actually 5 holes and we're only trying to fit 3 in the front of the vehicle. But if for whatever reason you only installed 2, that's possible. If you go every other one, 1, 2, and 3, that's how they recommend you to mount 3 pod lights. If you want to just install 2 on each side, just use these holes right here and here. I'm going to mount 3, so let's go ahead and do that now. I just wanted to show you guys really quick. This should already be on your vehicle. So it's going to sit up like this, and you're just going to mount your brackets right here. So let's open all these brackets up, starting with number 3. Morimoto does a really good job of making sure you can't mess up. On these brackets here, there is a 3, which makes that super easy. There's one for the passenger side and one for the driver's side. Also, all the hardware is included in the kit. Now, all you need for this is a T25 Torx. So let's go ahead and put the U bracket number 3 on our first pod light. Since these brackets are mounted to the top, it's gonna be flipped up like this. What we're gonna do first is grab your bolt. We're gonna put the bolt in first because you can't fit the bolt in if you have the 4Banger mounted already with those 2 Torx bolts. So grab your 4Banger, line up the holes on each side, and tighten down the included screw. All right, first one's already mounted and it should sit like this. This is the front, and then you've got this C shape right here. So here's the front of the 4Banger, C shape here. This is bracket number 3, which is the smallest bracket in all 3 of these kits. That means the smallest bracket will be going on the outside. The gap's a little bit smaller on the front of your vehicle. So the 3 is on the outside, 2 is in the middle, and 1 is in the center. If you only have 2 4Bangers getting mounted into the bracket, the 2 is gonna be on the outside and the 1 is gonna be mounted on the inside. So now do the exact same thing on the rest of your 4Bangers. Grab the bracket with the 2 on it, put the bolt in it first, the 2 T25 Torx on each side, and then do number 1. And just like that, all 3 of these are now mounted. Do the exact same thing on the passenger side 4Bangers, and then meet me back at the truck because we're gonna mount it in a bracket like this. It's gonna go in here and sit just like that. We're then gonna put the washer on it and then the nut and tighten it down. Now, before I go ahead and mount this on the vehicle, I want you guys to post in the comments and settle a debate for us here at Headlight Revolution. Would you recommend a wide driving beam pattern on the outside of the vehicle or the inside? Would you not want to put combo driving beam patterns in the fog light at all? Please tell me what your best lineup is when it comes to putting 6 4Bangers in the front end of the vehicle. Do you want yellow on the outside, in the center, in the middle, or not at all? Do you want all one color, or do you want to mix it up like we're doing here? Post in the comments below because we really are trying to figure out what the best lineup is on the Raptor, and we want to hear from you guys. So let's go ahead and mount these 4-bangers. The 4-banger we mounted to bracket number 1 and put it towards the inside first. And then what we're gonna do is put the washer on the bolt that's peeking out and then the nut. Now go ahead and tighten down 4-banger number 1. Now don't tighten it down all the way though, because we do want to adjust this in just a little bit. Let's just go ahead and mount the other 2. Go ahead and mount number 2. Put your washer on top, your 17mm nut, and tighten it down. On to the very last bracket, go ahead and put this on the farthest hole on your other bracket there, and tighten her down. Put your washer on, your nut. Now go ahead and play with the alignment real quick, just to get it mocked up to exactly where you'd like. All right, so now all we have to do is go ahead and plug in these 3 Deutsch connectors. Remember, this is from that long wire we just ran. Let's go ahead and plug these into the 4-bangers. It doesn't matter which one plugs into which. They're all the same and they'll all work properly. Make sure you hear them click. Do the same thing on the passenger side. So all of your pod lights are now plugged back in. The passenger's plugged in. I also went ahead and put that headlight back in as well. Now all we gotta do is the positive and negative battery terminals. Starting with the positive, we're gonna go ahead and remove this rubber cover, and it's an 8mm bolt. Go ahead and remove that. Now go ahead and put this positive battery terminal on there and tighten that nut back down. Do the same thing on the negative terminal. Remove the 8mm nut, grab your ground terminal, place it over, and put the nut back on. Now you are completely done with the install, apart from obviously tidying up all of this wiring. Before you go ahead and do that, just make sure it works. Hit that aux on your upfitter switch, whatever you plug that switch wire into, make sure everything works properly. And if so, tidy up all of this wiring with some zip ties and you're good to go. And just like that, you've installed one of the coolest products possible to the front end of your Raptor. But it doesn't have to stop there. Check out the Morimoto XB headlights. This has an amber DRL. They're also available with a white DRL. We've also done puddle lights, turn signals, brake lights, reverse lights, and more. Go to headlightrevolution.com, find the best in aftermarket automotive lighting. Just type in your year, make, and model, and you'll see everything that fits your truck.